Okay, can we maybe make that louder?
And this is Ben. I'm on the phone.
My glasses are still in the fog
Okay,
up
sounds good,
stage.
Ben.
I hate that.
Oh, I know. And my eyes are so itchy with allergies.
So we definitely have a quorum.
You do or don't?
We do?
We just need 5.
All right, I'm still giving them 30 seconds.
Okay, sounds good.
Just living the dream in Oxford pretty much. I went to St. Augustine in Sarasota. Those were fun trips.
Okay. I will call the meeting to order. And welcome to everyone that is here. It appears it's going to be a brief meeting today, perhaps. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda that we have before us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The next item is the approval of minutes from our last meeting on March 15th. I'd like to thank Diane for presiding. I couldn't be here, and I appreciate her doing that at the last minute. Are there any corrections or changes to those minutes as they were presented to us? If not, is there a motion that we approve the minutes from March of 2021?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second have been made. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. We're to public hearings, and the first item on our agenda for a demolition has been withdrawn. And the next item is case number 619, request for a certificate of appropriateness requested by Bill and Carolyn Simmons to build a new house and detached garage at 907 Lincoln Avenue. And Kate, would you present the case for us? And Joel has asked to be recused from this case.
Okay, just putting the plans up now for those of you at home. There's the site plan. Photos of the existing lot, and then I'll go to a front view. Okay, so the applicant for this case, number 619, requests approval.
Excuse me, Kate.
Oh, sorry.
We've got a question. Do we have a quorum now?
Yeah, Lance is on the phone.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and Camp should be coming in. He said he was going to call in. So anyway, but we're good.
Good. Thank you.
All right. So case number 619. The address of this currently vacant lot is 907 Lincoln Avenue. The applicant requests approval to build a new 1.5-story house with a detached garage. The building meets the recommendations of the design guidelines in setback and lot coverage, orientation, scale, proportion, rhythm, massing, height, materials, color, and details and ornamentation as recommended. The house features materials that are appropriate for the historic district, wood or hardy siding. I don't think they've quite decided yet. Aluminum clad windows, a brick foundation, and a metal roof. The house is compatible with the existing buildings on the street and in the historic district without directly copying or copying the details of those houses, so it's appropriate. And staff is recommending approval of the design. If anyone has questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, and also Jonathan Maddox is here on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you, Kate, and welcome, Jonathan. Jonathan, is there anything you'd like to add to what Kate has presented to us?
I don't think so. I think the drawings are pretty self-explanatory. It is a simple cottage, and really nothing about it is beyond the ordinary. So I think it speaks for itself.
It's very attractive. Any question or comments from any of the commissioners? It's a pretty lot,
Nice size lot.
pretty street, and this house looks like it will fit in very nicely.
There are a few site improvements that we'll come back and talk to you about at some point, a fence around the back, maybe a small little dipping pool. But I'd like to get started on construction soon this summer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said.
I said that there are a few things that we'll be talking about in the future, a privacy fence and that sort of thing.
Well, without questions from any of the commissioners here or attending remotely, I will accept a motion to approve the request.
Or would anyone in the audience like to,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
would
you.
anyone like to make a comment in public?
Ah,
No, I think it's lovely. Okay, the order's not wrong.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further comment or conversation? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The certificate of appropriateness is granted. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm getting a text that can't find the meeting information, so I'm just gonna send that to him real quick.
I'm sorry, Kate. I didn't hear what you just said.
I'm gonna send Cam the memo, he's having trouble logging on.
Okay.
And we'll move on to the next case.
Well, let's help Camp get connected.
Kate, was there a reason that the demolition was withdrawn?
Yeah, Ben was texting, he can't hear me, sorry. They were planning to come forward with, plans to, I guess, to build a new house there, so they withdrew the demolition request with the landscaping plan. And then since then, we have heard from one of the owners that they're going to come forward next month. They just changed their mind, they're gonna come forward next month with the landscaping plan. Okay, Ben, if you can hear me, I just sent Camp I'm sending him the info. So hopefully he can get logged on. All right.
Okay. Can you hear me, Kate?
Yes.
Welcome.
Great. Thank you, Jack. I also sent it to Camp. Hopefully he can log in here momentarily.
Okay.
And then just feedback to any commissioners that are speaking. Just make sure on your microphone that the green light is turned on. I think somebody might have asked a question and I couldn't hear it. I just heard Kate's response.
Okay, Camp. Hello.
Yes,
Camp, are you there?
I am now, yes, thank you.
Thank you for attending. Anything else coming through, Kate?
No, that's it. I think we can move on to the discussion about the potential demolition by neglect.
That's great. This is a potential demolition located at 507 North 14th Street. Kate, you want to bring us up to speed with this, please?
Sure. Hopefully you guys are seeing my screen. We have photos of the existing shed on the property. There you go. That's the first.
Can I ask why this is being presented as a potential demolition
Yes.
rather than a demolition?
It's not being presented as a potential demolition. It's under review for the potential of demolition by neglect. So demolition by neglect describes a situation in which a property owner has a building that is not being maintained, and this is a mechanism to, I guess, kind of spur repair of that building. So we're not discussing demolishing the shed.
Right.
This is, if you guys do vote to initiate demolition by neglect proceedings, that just means the city is going to notify the owner that they have 30 days to begin making repairs to the shed or come forward with a plan. Or, I mean, I suppose that at that point they could propose to demolish it.
No,
But-
I understand.
Yeah.
We are,
Right.
if the owner comes forward and makes the necessary repairs, it will not be demolished.
Right. The language in the ordinance says commence work to correct the specific
Yeah,
defects.
okay,
So,
thank you.
if you do choose to vote to start proceedings, the owner will be notified of this determination by certified mail and presumably will begin working with the owner on a plan to repair the shed. So the little bit of background that's in the report, I included the specific defects that you guys might want to go through those as a commission. Chris Carter, the chief building official, visited the property and his letter was included. And he states that the building he thinks could be repaired. If you guys think that it meets these defects, you can vote to begin proceedings and we'll start getting in touch with
You
the
know, I
owner.
think it would be helpful and probably appropriate to get in the minutes to either let us see the slides and hear the comments made by the inspector,
Sure.
and then hear the 9 criteria for demolition by neglect, or you can do it the other way. You can read us the 9 conditions, criteria for demolition by neglect, and then show us the thing so we will be able to compare the two.
Sure. So I'll start with the Historic Resource Inventory Survey, which was at the end of the packet. The outbuilding is mentioned specifically. So here's a photo of the house. And for those of you who drove by, this structure is visible through that carport. The survey estimates the building dating to 1945. There have been some changes made. You guys saw the photos, but it does have the shed listed as contributing. All right, here are some interior photos of the shed. Exterior. Okay, and I'm not going to read you Chris's entire letter, but let's see. He estimates that the south wall is approximately 12 inches out of plumb. The bottom of the north wall of the original structure leans in the same direction and to approximately the same degree. It appears as if structural members on the front corner and the north side have sunken into the ground and deteriorated, allowing the top of that wall area to be considerably lower than the opposing wall to the south. It doesn't have a traditional foundation. It's set on posts, which are, I guess, sinking into the ground, just part of the issue with, you can see the angle at which the structure is leaning. He concludes by saying that the building has fallen into a state of disrepair, and that the condition could have been avoided with diligent maintenance. While it may be easier to demolish the structure and begin anew, it can be salvaged and made whole if there is need to preserve any historical significance that may be associated with it. Any preservation activity should be attempted by a knowledgeable, patient, and experienced contractor, as it will be a tedious restoration. So he does believe that it can be retained. And then would you like me to, do you guys want to discuss a little bit and then go through the criteria?
Does anybody have a comment now about where we are in the presentation? Yeah, I think we need to have mention of the letter that the next door neighbor wrote to the homeowner.
Oh, sure, that initiated the whole proceeding. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
and then I think a read down of the criteria for demolition by neglect, please.
okay, we received a letter from a neighboring property owner, Jay Hughes, and he included a letter that he sent in January of 2020 to the property owner with his concerns about the condition of the garage. And he sent a letter to Ben on March 8th requesting that the city begin the demolition by neglect process. So I think you guys will discuss this and you'll go through the...
And there seems to have been no response from the homeowner to the letter.
Right, he said that they did not receive a response. So the portion of the ordinance that I included in your packet defines, well, it doesn't define. Any resource which is a landmark and all resources within a preservation district shall be preserved by the owner or such other persons as may have the legal custody or control thereof against decay, deterioration, and free from unreasonable structural defects. The owner or other persons having legal custody and control thereof shall repair such resource if it's found to have one or more of the following defects. Deterioration to the extent that it creates or permits a hazardous or unsafe condition as determined by the city's building inspector. Deterioration, as determined by the building inspector, of a building characterized by one or more of the following. Those buildings which have parts thereof which are so attached that they may fall and injure persons or property. Deteriorated or inadequate foundations. Defective or deteriorated floor supports or floor supports inefficient to carry imposed loads with safety. Members of walls or other vertical supports that split, lean, list, or buckle due to defective material, workmanship, or deterioration. Members of walls or other vertical supports that are insufficient to carry imposed loads with safety. Members of ceilings, roofs, ceiling and roof supports, or other horizontal members which sag, split, buckle, or buckle due to defective material, workmanship, or deterioration. Members of ceilings, roofs, ceiling and roof supports, or other horizontal members that are insufficient to carry imposed loads with safety. Fireplaces or chimneys which list, bulge, or settle due to defective material, workmanship, or deterioration, or any faults, defect, or condition in the building which renders the same structurally unsafe or not properly watertight. So that's what you'll be considering.
And I know we all received that information in the packet of information that we received. So we've heard the details of the situation. Comments from commissioners, please.
I think it's been like that a long time. It's slowly, I looked at it one time for that lady, many years ago. I would guess that she's very old now. I think she lives in Virginia. So getting a hold of her may be difficult just due to her. I mean, she could be in a nursing home for all I know. I don't know. I think they want to contact the renters maybe. They might know a responsible party if it's not her. But, it had no foundation, just kind of thrown together, typical for that era, and it's just slowly going back into the earth.
Can you speak into the mic for me, Joel?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's slowly rotting into the earth.
So my point is, how can you repair it if there's no foundation that you're working with?
Yeah, you put some sort of foundation under it.
I think you just
jack it up and then stabilize it, get your foundation right, and then you replace whatever members are necessary to maintain that stability.
Are you getting another job?
Do what?
Are you gonna do another job?
No, I hope not.
Well, I'm wondering because it's 12 inches out of plumb, and that's a lot.
It is, but it's a simple structure. It's very simple. If it was a 2-story house, that would be a big issue. As it is, 3 good strong guys could push it over. It's just a matter of, it's got to be stabilized, brought up to the correct level, even if that level's not quite what it originally was, but get it better than it is and obviously plumb square level, and then get a foundation under it. It doesn't have to be a fancy one nor a terribly expensive one, but a foundation nonetheless, and then replace what is necessary to stabilize the structure.
Kate, is that home a rental? Is it just vacant or what?
I believe they're renters.
It's a rental.
You think it's a rental? So renters try and use it or do not try and use it?
I don't believe anyone is parking in that garage, no.
I went over there this afternoon. There's, it's just junk
Oh, I
in
know,
it.
I was there too.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's used for anything that I could tell. Any of you viewing from home have any comments, questions?
I'm wondering, what are the consequences if we do say it qualifies for demolition by neglect and the owner is unable to do it or is just non-responsive? What's the next step?
Hey, Camp, this is Ben. How are you?
Hey, Ben. I'm okay. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a good question. And it's something that we can take a look at. This has only actually come up. You probably would remember as well as I have that during my tenure, it's come up one time. And I think that was for a house that was on University Avenue, and then it was, they were just in a bad state. Ultimately, it was decided that they came up with a plan to demolish it and then landscape it. But it's my understanding that we've never had an instance where somebody didn't work to come up with a plan to remedy the situation, whether that's through, the potential for a demolition, an actual demolition request, or through repair work itself. Nonetheless, I think there are penalty provisions that are a part of the code, and Kate might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there are penalty provisions that can be assessed daily to the owner. At this point, we haven't jumped the shark at this point to notify the homeowner, because we didn't know exactly where y'all were gonna, where you would land on this ultimately. It's certainly, you've seen the photos, you see what it looks like, but the next step in this will be for, should you vote for us or direct us to move forward with the demolition by neglect proceedings, would be for us to make contact with the owner, and they're an absentee owner. They're from, I think they live, maybe on the East Coast, Virginia, I think, and I think that presents its own set of challenges, within the code, but nonetheless, that would be probably the first step, is to get in touch with them, make them aware of the situation, help them understand what the ordinance says, and the requirements to bring this, rehabilitate this structure.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so I'm wondering then, if, let's just say that they are really don't communicate with us, and we start imposing fines on the property, do those fines become a lien against that property when they go to try to sell it or something? Is that a lien? Anybody know?
Potentially, but I think what ends up happening, though, Camp, is they actually are cited, and they have a summons to appear before the judge, and ultimately the judge would have to make the determination of exactly what the fine will ultimately be within the parameters of what the ordinance allows for.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Ben.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Lance.
I can hear you, Lance.
I read the letter from Jay Hughes to the landowner, and it looked like to me he made a pretty serious allegation of it being an attractive nuisance for children. And have you thought about maybe that has taken us out of jurisdiction and shouldn't the city attorney take this up in some manner?
Yeah, I don't, he provided us with a copy of the letter. But at the end of the day, I think the demolition by neglect proceedings and the city attorneys have seen, everything that you've seen at this point. We've worked with them on how to move forward, which is why there's a bit of a time delay between when we received the letter at the beginning of March to you hearing this now. All that to being said, that we're moving forward in the process that we believe is correct per the code for demolition by neglect. As anybody could propose a demolition by neglect. It's a serious thing, which is why staff has to evaluate it. It's why we have to bring in the building official to be able to evaluate it to see if there are any merits to the argument. We bring that information to y'all to ultimately make or provide us with direction if you would like us to proceed forward.
But so y'all, city planning has notified the city attorney's office of potential liability there.
We've notified them. We've provided them with the letters that we received, and then discuss with them the process to move forward as it pertains to the ordinance for a demolition by neglect.
It appears that even if other entities are involved, we are still one of those entities that needs to react in our capacity. But that's a good point, Lance. Thank you. As I read the inspector's report line by line, and then I read the criteria, it seemed to me, based on that inspector's report, that this structure failed 7 out of the 9 criteria. So I personally don't really see how we have much option other than to initiate the process, but we will vote on that question. Does anybody else have an observation or concern?
I think maybe one of the positive things might be if we initiate the process, it might move the property owner to try to sell the property possibly. That might be a plus, and if they're not able or choose not to make the repairs, maybe that would move them. If there was a suggestion to them that one of the ways out would be to sell the property, and then the new owner would be responsible for making the repairs, or to come back and ask for a demolition of the garage.
And I would hope that the city and historic preservation staff, which is also the planning staff, Kate and Ben, would give consideration to those kind of options that could occur. Sure. Rather than just sort of say hard and fast, in the 30 days, the axe comes down, to give the owner an opportunity to respond. And there is some entity, obviously, that's responsible for that property if it's a rental, right. Even if the individual owner is not, and so that perhaps will be something that the city has to do to find the responsible party there.
Yeah, and we won't just send certified mail and say, oh, well, we couldn't find them.
Well, that's good. Yeah. But, it is a structure that is an authentic Oxford historic structure. Those kinds of back buildings and garages and residential barns existed. So I hope the owner will want to restore it.
Yeah, and we don't have just tons of them sitting around. So.
Exactly.
Kate, that's an unusual last name, McNaughton. I do remember seeing there is individuals by that name that still live here.
Okay, well, maybe I'm going to be calling them up.
Okay. I think one lives over, if I'm not mistaken, I believe one lives over at the Dale, or they did recently, until
Okay.
a few years ago. Yeah,
Good, yeah, we'll do what we can to track them down quickly.
okay.
Just for some historic reference, I mean, we actually almost got to demolition by neglect on the Shaw House, believe it or not, years ago. But the pressure of us getting there, or tearing down parts of it anyway, forced the owner, who was unable to pay, who came before us several times asking for additional time, to sell the Shaw House, which ultimately he did, and then the new owners were able to make the repairs that, were required. So maybe that could happen here as well.
And I recall a conversation related to a house located contiguous to the Primitive Baptist Church, that the conversation centered around demolition by neglect. And that house has been restored, so I'm not quite sure the details.
Those are the two cases that I found going back through our history files downstairs, and that seemed to me to be more of an electrical wiring. It actually was unsafe for the renters there, and it was brought back into compliance using this process.
Yeah, I passed by that house today, and it's fit. Is there a motion that we initiate the demolition by neglect
I make that motion.
effort? The motion has been made. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Now that we're at this point, is there any other comment or requests from any of the board commissioners? If not, we will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Kate. Is there any other business to come before this commission meeting today?
Not from staff.
Not from staff. Any commissioners?
Hey, Kate.
Hey.
Hey, I think if you don't mind just giving a brief discussion of the CLG grant and where we stand.
Oh,
just,
right.
A couple minutes. That'd be great.
Okay. So you guys remember that last year we got a CLG grant from the Department of Archives and History to resurvey all of our historic districts. That survey has been completed, and she determined with MDAH that we didn't really need to update our National Register nominations, which was the second part of the grant. So instead, we started looking at our local districts and what would make sense, just for consistency's sake. We're thinking about, or we're moving forward with, if you guys agree, changing our historic district names to align with the National Register names. So our boundaries are pretty much aligned with the National Register, but the National Register, we only have North Lamar District, South Lamar District, and Courthouse Square District. And you'll recall that locally, we have the Depot District and Jefferson, Madison. And so those are actually part, on the National Register scale, of the North Lamar or South Lamar districts. So what we're going to be doing is aligning our boundaries to match the National Register so it's less confusing for everyone. And it's not going to change the amount of properties we have protected. It's more of a administrative change so that we're the same locally and nationally. And then for the rest of the report that we're going to get from our consultant, she's making we're calling it a database, but a list of the non-contributing properties and in all of the districts and why they're listed as non-contributing. Because I think a lot of times when we have a property coming before this commission, we don't distinguish a lot between it's non-contributing because it's new, and it's non-contributing because it's a historic building that now has vinyl siding, but perhaps the owner could bring it back into compliance. So we thought with the rest of the funds, we already had the amount we were going to pay this consultant. We thought that would be a good use of the funds to kind of help us make decisions about non-contributing properties.
Is there consideration given
And then
to...
more.
Go ahead, whomever that.
And then, sorry, Jack, one last item that we are planning to do is to make our historic surveys actually more accessible for people, for our community, for our commissioners, for homeowners. So we're actually going to be working with our GIS staff to basically provide them kind of like the zoning map. It's kind of like a Google map, and you'd be able to click on a property and be able to pull up the survey, all the information associated with it, and the photos, et cetera.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I forgot about that.
That's a great idea, Ben and Kate. Thank you for that.
Is any consideration going to be given to non-contributing structures because of the time lapse since the date when they were designated as, so some non-contributing structures will possibly become contributing structures?
Yes. Not a ton, because she didn't change the period of significance for the historic districts, but there are some that were on the cusp, like some 30s and 40s buildings that weren't really eligible at the time, and they are now contributing.
I think that's good.
So hopefully, ideally, it'll be like you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Even more important, we also have learned that through the work of this commission and working with with homeowners to actually, make repairs and renovations to their homes. We actually have had some non-contributing structures that were listed because of the alterations that were previously made that have come back to becoming contributing because of the work to bring them into compliance with the guidelines. I think that's an important thing to note.
That's true, Ben, and we heard that from MDAH and from Judith, our consultant. So that's nice to know that the commission is working,
Hey, before we conclude today, I want to first apologize to my colleagues for being late. I got messed up with coming out of a Zoom meeting on campus, and I couldn't find the link to join y'all, and I apologize. I'm hoping that we approve did we approve the Simmons request for?
Yes.
We did. Are the Simmons?
It might have gone through the process quicker than any other request we've ever seen.
I don't believe they're still on the call.
Okay, well, I know them, and I was hopeful that we would approve that. It looked like a beautiful design, so good deal. I just wanted to know if that happened. Thank you.
And on that note, Camp, we figured out how to do recurring Teams meetings. So starting from March on, like any time you click on the link on that email, it'll work. So the link will be the same next month. So if for some reason you can't find your May email and you find your April email, it should get you into the meeting.
Good.
That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Only took a year for me to figure that out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Move and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Nobody says you like.